In this video, we're going to look specifically at trigonomic function values and angle measures. Essentially, we're looking at how to use trig in order to find angles or the value of that trig function based on a given angle. Now, in order to do this, you need to be able to rely on some form of a graphing calculator. The one that I have, that TI-84 Plus, and so I'm going to show you how to use that one here in this video. If you're somebody who has a different calculator, again, these directions will be slightly different than what you have to do maybe on your calculator, but they should be very similar in terms of some of the steps that you have to take. So first and foremost, it's going to depend on the information that's been given. So the first thing we're going to look at is getting a trigonomic value when you've been given an angle. Okay? What that means is you're essentially going to enter it as written. So if you had something like the sine of a given angle, then you would just simply click your sine button, type in your angle, and click enter. Now if you need to do the reciprocal, so reciprocals meaning we're looking at the cosecant, secant, cotangent, then you would have to use 1 over the trig function in order to get that reciprocal. Now, if we want to look for an angle measure when we've been given a trigonomic value, then we got to do something a little bit different. To do that, we have to use essentially what would appear to be the inverse. Okay? So if you look at the calculator, okay, so like this calculator here. Let's see if I can zoom that in a little bit. Okay. So notice we have your sine, cosine, and tangent, but if you look above them, see in the navy or in the blue, we have sine to the negative first, cosine to the negative first, tangent to the negative first. So these raised to the negative first power is what we're talking about using. Okay. Essentially what we're doing is we are solving for the angle, and so to do that we would use the inverse of those functions. Okay. Now just like before, they have ways to enter it. So here you would hit second trig function and value. Or if you needed to use the reciprocal, you would use your trig function, but then you would do 1 over the value instead of just clicking value. You would put parentheses and do 1 divided by that value. Okay. So what I have here is I just have some examples that we're going to look at of being able to calculate going either for the angle or for the trig value depending on information provided. So first and foremost, the question says find the function value and the round to 4 decimal places. So the round to your decimal places is one of the most important pieces. You always want to find out how far you have to round before you start any problem. So in this case, we're given an angle. So in this case, we would enter it as is. Okay? So this means we would literally take our calculator, so like this one here, and we're going to click the cosine button, and we're just simply going to type our angle for 0.35, close it, and hit enter. So we want to round to 4 decimal places, so our value is 0.7621. Pretty simple. Now we can also do it if we're given your degree, minute, second. And so in this case we have the cotangent. Because we have cotangent, we have to use the reciprocal. So instead we're going to look at 1 over the tangent of 17 degrees, 15 minutes, 0 seconds. So we're going to go ahead and enter that in. So here we're going to go 1 divided by, I would open a parentheses just to keep myself on the straight and narrow. We're going to hit tangent, but then you have to put in your degree, minute, second. So here this is going to be 17 second apps for the degree, and hit enter. Then we have 15 second apps, gives you minutes. And then we have 0. We're going to hit the green button and the plus sign to give me seconds. We're going to close your parentheses and hit enter. So we get 3.2205. Now here, in this next example, we are giving you the trig function and we want to find the angle. And so this is where we have to use that inverse idea. So on this first one, I need to solve for my angle. So my angle here is going to equal essentially the inverse sine of 0.5125. So here we have to find our theta value, and so we do that by following our idea, second trig function and the value. So here, let's see if that gives us a result. Alright, so here we're going to go ahead and hit second and the sine function. Notice it gives me sine to the -1, and then we're just going to enter it in, 0.5125, close it and hit enter. So here we get 30.8304. In this case, we wanted nearest tenth, so this would be 30.8 degrees. Let's try this next one. So here my angle would be the inverse secant of 1.279. Now remember, secant is the reciprocal of cosine, so this is going to be the cosine to the -1. But then remember, when we're using reciprocals, we have to do my trig function and 1 divided by the value. So this would be the inverse cosine of 1 over 1.279. And this is what we would put into our calculator. So let's go ahead and do that here. So we're going to do second cosine of 1 divided by 1.279, close your parenthesis and hit enter. And in this case, we end up with your angle being 38.6 degrees. Okay, let's look at one more here. So we have, my angle is going to be the inverse cosecant of 2 square root 3 over 3. Remember, cosecant is the reciprocal to sine, so this is really going to be the inverse sine of 1 over 2 square roots of 3 divided by 3. And this is what we're going to be putting into our calculator. So let's go ahead and attempt that. So here we're going to go second sine, then we're going to go 1 divided by, and I'd open a parentheses, but in this case I would open one more. We're going to do that top, 2 times the square root of 3, close your parenthesis, divide it by 3, close it again, close it a last time, and hit enter. And in this case we end up with your angle being 60.0 degrees. So there you have it. You have lots of different examples of being able to solve either for your trigonometric function value or solving for your degree. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I do hope you enjoyed this short video, and I'll see you all next time.